No, he said, "What are your thoughts on the Jimmy Savile thing?" And didn't we sort of know?
We did know. People get on the BBC's case about turning a blind eye to Jimmy Savile. It's
Mm.
on all of us. Look at him. It was obvious.
Huh, I've never seen him. I'll have to look him up now.
You'll look at him, you'll know. You'll just look at him and go, "Oh, that's a pedo." How did Britain let him walk on the streets?
How do you spell it?
Savile.
All right, I'm looking up a picture.
You look him up. You look at Jimmy Savile and you
Oh
tell
my
me.
God, that's totally a pedo.
Totally a pedo. You see, it was all of our responsibility. We shirked our duty.
Yeah, you sound
Should
like.
I? Should is that a threat?
Oh.
Is it you and the Marquee boys
Why are
gonna
you
come?
still alive, Jim?
Yeah, exactly. Is this at the point where you throw a brandy glass into the fire and go impossible?
Oh, I'm just worried. I'm worried about you. You sound.
Is this where you get a computer, right? And you press a button, and there is a henchman on it saying, "Duh, what do you want, boss?" And you go, "Why is Sterling still alive? Mad Cat, I will get that Sterling next time." Is
do
that
I?
what this is now, Jonathan? Is
Do I?
this an episode of Inspector Gadget now?
Do I make my own cat noise too?
Yes.
Funny. No, it's not like that. It's just I asked how you were doing, and you sounded like you were holding something back.
I'm holding something, and it's not my back. It is my ears. Yes,
Aw, that sounds cute.
I can't hold my
Huh.
ears. I have headphones on, so I've
Uh,
double swerved you.
And here I thought I was going to have an opportunity to use the word turgid.
what's turgid mean?
Oh, it's a great word.
What's it mean?
Swollen.
Oh, like a sponge?
Like I am a
Like a member.
I am a turgid game reviewer.
Like a member. A swollen game? Okay, sure. I think I'd swollen with ideas. That was fun.
I'm in high
So
spirits today.
I could tell.
great. How come?
Huh?
Why are you so happy?
Spirits. That hide me up. It's having a nice, relaxing weekend.
That's
Weekend?
great.
It's what day is it today?
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yes.
You see,
Well,
this is why you're on team. You help me work out that it's not the weekend. It is
you've been
Wednesday.
working too. You've been writing stories, I
Oh,
think.
working the weekend. I don't mind telling you.
You wrote a
Uh,
story on the weekend, didn't you? Or two?
did I?
I think so.
Oh, I did a story this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly had a very relaxing weekend. I've been trying to cool down. It's actually like the most stressful months for a game reviewer.
Mm.
Yeah, I say stressful. It's not like the job we do is hard, but you know, it can get a bit hectic, and so
I think it's hard.
yeah,
I work in a psychiatric hospital most of the time, and I think reviewing video games can be just as stressful, if
you
but
deal
just
with
in a different way.
you deal with just as many mental patients, I think,
Well,
reviewing
but
games.
when you're reviewing games, you have hundreds of thousands of people involved with what you're doing, potentially, if not more. Whereas you work in a psychiatric hospital, you're just keeping a few
It's
people from
just
dying.
you, him, and the guard you've paid to look the other way.
Oh, what? Why on earth would what? No one. No, you don't want to have sex with them. That's the
Whoa,
last
whoa, whoa,
place you
whoa, whoa,
go for
whoa,
sex.
whoa! Wait a minute, wait a minute. Who said you're having sex with him?
I never
Like,
said that.
You're right.
God, Jonathan.
I'm sorry.
Right, I'm.
You see, now I suspect that you are.
That was that is.
You sound great. I think everything is gonna go great.
Yeah, you
That's
sound fine.
awesome.
Everything's
I
fine.
appreciate your optimism.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. That was a mistake on my part. It seems that I laughed so hard I pulled something in the computer. Yanked on some cords that unplugged my microphone that killed Skype. And it wouldn't start again because it said
See?
the microphone didn't work. But the light was on the microphone. And so I was confused for a long time.
Yeah, technology. Jeez.
It sucks, Jonathan.
It does. I'm grouchy today. Hopefully, I'll treat you guys right. I don't want to be a grump or a mean guy, because that wouldn't be right.
Why are you grumpy? What's happened?
Oh, just all sorts of things. Microsoft has got a new motion controller that attaches to your wrist, and makes me sad.
That's the problem.
Yeah, why does that?
Yeah,
What? That's. Are you kidding?
That's
That's the
just makes me.
solution to all my comedy needs.
so you. I can just imagine that on like Full House or The Cosby Show or one of those family problems where one of the kids looking sad and they're like, "Well, what's the problem, Billy? Are the kids being mean to you at school?" "No, Pa. Microsoft's got a new motion controller on your wrist and it sucks." Wow. Tonight on a very special episode.
Yeah, maybe that's not bothering me. Maybe I was already sad, and then that just seems sadder to me. Maybe it's great. Are you guys excited? New wrist
I
thing.
mean, they can't be doing motion control any worse than they already kind of are.
Hmm.
So, if the wrist thing makes Connect work more effectively and able to detect my motions the way that it was advertised, then yeah, all right. I mean, I'm not that keen on the idea of buying yet another accessory to make that happen, but
Yeah,
could be
it'd be
worse.
nice if it was just a standalone thing. But still, just buttonless motion control usually, or just input free, no physical tactile input, kind of bums me out. And this is a thing you just put on your wrist and then can do like hand signs,
I'm telling you,
like sign language,
it's
the
the
game.
first brick in Microsoft's wall of bullshit being pulled out, is what that is.
You think it's not going to be a huge hit?
It might be a hit, but it's a brick in the bullshit being pulled out, whether it's a hit or not. Like, I said, because I reviewed Fable: The Journey this past week, and I said the
Yes.
problem with Kinect games is Kinect is built on a foundation of lies, and shit like this just goes to show. They talk about how immersive it is and how you are the controller. It's like, well, no, not anymore. You are the controller, and so is this as well. And it'll be the first of more things. I guarantee it. That wrist controller is the beginning of this unstated admittance that total hands-free, peripheral-free controller shit doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's bullshit. And that is just the start. Next, they'll be reselling light guns and telling us that it's something new because it's green or something.
I think that the controller-free idea has merit. The technology just isn't up to the task yet. The cameras aren't at a resolution that it can really detect, more finite actions like finger movements and so forth. And if it can ever get to that point, maybe this stuff is viable. But right now, it just doesn't work.
I'm not even sure I mean, technology is definitely part of it, but I don't even think our human brains are at a level to appreciate it or have it feel natural or good to us. Like, it doesn't feel good to me to not be holding or doing something, feel like I'm doing something. If I'm just waving my hands in the air, my brain can't process that as me performing an action.
Mm. Yeah,
It's
you're
just,
aware of
yeah.
yourself, your body moving around, not touching anything and interacting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I find it very alienating, and it's a self-conscious thing as well, and that's what especially gets me when they talk about how immersive Kinect control is. I've never been more aware that I'm play acting than I have been than when I'm playing something or using Kinect for something. Never am I more aware of how awful and ridiculous I am. And never have been more aware, especially when it's playing something like Fable, where you're whipping your arm in and out to the point where it really gets fucking fatiguing. I've never been more aware that I'm not in a game's world. So I don't find it immersive, and I think it's less technology and more just the way we are wired. It feels better to be playing on a controller, and it's especially feels a lot more like a lot less intensive, to the point where I can concentrate on what's going on the screen, and then therefore I'm more involved in the game world and whatever it's trying to do.
Sure.
Maybe it's just me, but
Well, I think it's application too. You have to have the proper applications for it. You look at sport-related games, dance-related games. Those things can work really, really well with the interface, because it is actually, you are actually carrying out actions, as opposed to playing some, Fable, for example. I mean, and that can just feel a little silly. I can see where you're coming from there.
yeah.
Well, yeah, a dance game is about you playing as yourself, dancing good. And then the game tells you, like, you are a good dancer. That's very different than, like, pretending you are existing on the other side of the TV screen and kind of inhabiting a character.
Yeah. I mean,
You know what I mean?
Connector's a toy for that kind of. I don't mean toy in a judgmental way. I mean, it's
Derogatory.
What it is.
You don't mean it as
I don't mean to be derogatory in that sense. I'll be derogatory about fucking Connect all day long, but in this sense, as a toy, I can see it with the merit. Having the dancing and sports. Mime stuff.
Double Fine Goofball Theater or whatever it's called.
Yeah, stuff
You
where
know
it's
that
actually
one? That's a
fun
cute
to
one.
mime, and the miming aspect is part of the game. But if you're telling me to just thrust my arm in and out until my elbow gets whiplash, and I need to be on painkillers during the weekend, and I start
Now,
getting really
is
weird.
this a fisting game you're playing?
It might as well be, to be honest. Especially with how much that guy talks about the horse in it. Jesus fucking Christ.
It's a real game about loving horses, isn't it?
That's what Fable is.
Deeply loving
A
horses.
man in romantic, thrusting love with his horse. That's what the game should be called, Fable Thrusting Love.
With your horse, or just
With
leave
your
that
horse.
out?
Thrusting
Oh.
horse love. Horseman thrust love. You are the controller, and the horse is your honey pot. Ah,
That made me
I
depressed.
fucking swear to God, Peter Molyneux. Peter Molyneux, you
Yeah?
fucking liar. And I will go on record as saying that Peter Molyneux, you fucking liar. And that's not an accusation. He says it himself by pointing to a whiteboard that says it's not on rails. And having a photograph taken of him doing that is him explicitly saying, I'm Peter Molyneux and I'm a fucking liar.
I didn't know he was that involved with this one. I thought he'd already left for 22 cans.
Oh, he got
He was there at the
knee deep in
beginning.
the bullshit.
Yeah.
And at E3, talking with the people that were there, and this was of course after Peter left, they were just like, "Oh God, we really wish he hadn't said that about the on-rails."
And he might have believed it at the time. I think he believes what he says. I really like him personally, though can't say I know him particularly well. He's a dreamer and his heart's of gold, guys?
He has never told the truth. Literally never in his life has Peter Molyneux. He's not even Peter Molyneux. When he says he's called Peter Molyneux, he's not. It's called Shabadoo. He's called Shabadoo Scooby.
Any statement Peter Molyneux says should immediately be followed by one of those like financial analyst fine print things that says forward-looking statements made by Peter Molyneux cannot be trusted under any circumstances.
Well, I said, they need to have, someone... I nominate Chris Berry, who played Rimmer in Red Dwarf, to just stand next to him, and just over everything he says, Peter Molyneux's just trying to talk, just, we're only going to make one game now. And there's just someone off to the side, just over everything, just, liar? 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 Just at the same time, so you can't hear either of them, but it's just, you fall in love with your dog. Liar! That's what he needs, or a parrot that's been trained to say it. You
what's
fucking liar, Peter Molyneux, you absolute charlatan. Not on rails.
Is it on rails? Yeah.
It's on more rails than rails.
It's
on
a very
rails.
wide rail. In fairness, it's a very wide rail.
Very wide bullshit.
Can you
Right? It's
go
split.
from left to right,
It's
or you
split into
so
two sections. On-rails horse section. On-rails shooter section. Now, I don't even have a problem with on-rails games. I want that for the record. I really like a good light gun shooter. You know, House of the Dead, love it. Some other ones, love them. Can't remember any of them. Fuck it. Killer 7.
Ghost Squad on Wii. That was great.
Ghost
Killer 7,
Squad?
totally a Rails game,
Killer
yeah.
7 Rails, fucking adore Killer 7. It's one of my favourite games. It's not that it's on Rails that I've got the problem with, it's that he fucking lied. Liar! Lied! Told the lies! Forever!
Well, what do you think's going on in his mind? I think that's important to designate. I mean, there's a difference between a guy who's like, I'm gonna lie and get my game sold, and then they'll all be tricked, and I'll make all the money. And then there's the person who thinks they're telling the truth because their imagination is wild. Some would even say delusional. You know, they believe things are true that are not true, and they're saying those things, thinking that everyone's going to agree and that they're all in the same world as him in this case. You can tell which way I'm leaning. I think
he's a liar.
Oh,
He's
really,
like that song about the man who's a liar.
if I'm being perfectly
okay,
honest, the only thing I want from Peter Molyneux is to see him play Riff Raff in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Is there a new Rocky Horror Picture Show coming out?
Not yet, but God willing, if they do it,
oh my god, that would be fantastic. It's one of the Master's affairs.
You're wet.
It's going to be the best affair the generation has ever seen. You'll be able to love a dog in it. Oh dear. Deary me, Peter Molyneux, you fibbing man. I still love him, that's the thing.
He's charming as hell.
That's how he gets away with his bullshit, like, forever. I love the guy. He's just a fucking liar. And I want him to admit it. I want him to write down, I'm Peter Molyneux and I am a liar.
Well, doesn't he always say after he's done a game that he's sorry about the game?
Yeah.
And everything he said about it didn't turn out to be true?
It's the cycle of abuse. It's he lies, we believe him because he's so charming. We know it. We actually know in our brain that he's lying, and we still tell ourselves he's telling the truth. Because it's Peter Molyneux. Why would he lie? He's too nice. And then it comes out, and we realise everything was a lie. And then he says, oh, like that. And then we go, oh, like that.
It's okay, Peter. We know you tried to make that game the way you wanted to.
Yeah. And then, but the next one. That would be the best one. And I think we said this last week, him saying that 22 Cans, that studio he's making, he said something like, it's only ever going to make one game. That's what he said. He said his new studio will only ever make one game. And I already know how that's going to go. They're going to make lots of games. But every time someone calls him out on his shit, he will go, but it is still the same game. Philosophically. It's still the same. I mean, this is a light gun shooter, and this is an 80-hour RPG. But
All he has to do is say it's episodic content.
Yeah. And everyone will swallow it because everyone lets him get away with it. Everyone who signed that, like, I don't know who did, but when he said at E3, he wrote, it's not on Rails on that whiteboard, and he made games writers, like games media people, sign their name underneath to agree with him. Every single one who did that is a toady and an enabler, and it makes me sick. Liars, all of them.
What happened? Can you explain that? I don't know what that is.
Apparently, there's this photo of Peter Molyneux with a whiteboard with it's not on Rails written on it, whole bunch of signatures on it. Apparently, he had like behind closed doors sessions with games media people, and said, if you agree it's on Rails or something, don't write your name on here. Something like put them on the spot or whatever, and had them all basically sign on this whiteboard to agree that Fable the Journey was not on Rails. And then there's a photo of him with all these fucking signatures. Everyone who wrote on that, you are awful. It's like you found out that, like, your dad has been fucking kids and you helped him get away with it.
Whoa.
And a court, a sympathetic jury, will agree that you were blinded by love and loyalty and conflicted, but you still did it.
That's intense. I wonder if he's going to hear this. People listen to the show. How do you think he'd feel if he heard that you said that he's like your dad, or a dad? I mean, just the idea of a dad, a molesting dad.
When the effects of the drinking have worn off, I may be worried. At the moment, I'm not. So that is okay. And I tell you what, if
Yeah.
if it is a problem, and anyone is upset, I will say I'm sorry that I said those awful things. They are the worst things I've ever said. But the next Podtoid will define a generation of podcasts, and you will love a dog.
How can you argue with that? That
How
would be
can you argue with
hypocritical.
that? Exactly. Turnabout is fair play.
Yes, I like a good turnabout. Indeed.
I'll turn you about.
No. Sony's suing the actor who plays Kevin Butler. That's a thing that happened. Any
Yeah.
thoughts, guys? No feelings? Thoughts on that?
Well, it's one of those risks that you take when you're the representative of the product. I don't think that they're...
Hang on, Conrad. Your microphone has got dislodged or something.
Is that better?
Much better.
Yeah, okay.
It's really
I think
relaxed sounding. Yeah.
it's one of those situations where you have to be careful about what you do in your advertising. And he was a brand representative for a very long time and instantly recognizable with the Sony brand. And I don't know what the contract stipulations were, what in terms of what Sony asked of him when he agreed to do that. But I doubt that Sony would waste the time and energy and money suing him and getting negative press for that if they didn't think they had a case there. So
That's interesting. Ben Cuchero over at Penny Arcade Report, he said in his research of it, I always envy him because he has all this time for researching. I want to do some researching. Anyway, he was researching it, and he said in his preliminary research that it seemed to him that Sony didn't understand what the word actor meant in their pursuit of the lawsuit. That they just didn't know that he is a character, Kevin Butler, and not a man who they renamed Kevin Butler and just said forever more you are Kevin Butler. Because in the commercial he's in, he doesn't play Kevin Butler. He's not advertising a Nintendo product. He's working for Bridgestone Tires and playing Mario Kart. And then it's like, oh, this Mario Kart we're giving away here at Bridgestone. Like, it seems like the actor, I think his name's Jeffrey Lambert, he wasn't allowed to ever like another video game on video ever again, as far as Sony was concerned.
I think there was a no compete clause, which it's fairly common. I mean, I've got one with The Escapist. If I ever leave them for a year, I couldn't just do the Jimquisition anywhere else, which is fair enough. It's a fair enough clause. They don't want.
Could you do anything anywhere else?
I do things everywhere else.
Right.
I just can't do something similar. And that's that was Sony's contract with Lambert, was don't do games. And don't be related with games. However, according to Lambert's side of it, that contract was up 3 days after it went out. The
right,
advert
August
went out.
2012,
Yeah.
I think.
So the contract was up, so he should be free to do like any acting gig he wants. However, I'm guessing the contention comes in with, did it say he couldn't film or work on anything until that contract was up, in which case they'd have a case? Or is it that the commercials can't go out while the contract's still up, in which case they wouldn't? And I'm going to guess they're going to argue that, he was still filming that thing, because he'd have had to have done, while under contract. But to be honest, it's such a stupid lawsuit. I haven't looked into it too much. It's just
Oh,
wow.
you know a lot about it, considering. Yeah.
What do you
And
pick things up?
what's that? Oh, yeah, you do. Well, yeah, you do it for a job. Um, but regardless, he's out of the commercials now. So Sony won. He was removed from those commercials like
Yeah.
almost immediately. I happened to catch one. I was all excited. Now it's gone. It's just replaced with kind of a scientist guy. He's got a big mouth. Like, ooh, he's good too.
It's just
Not
sad
knocking.
that so many good things, because the Kevin Butler stuff, like, it was pretty good. It
Hmm.
was, Sony is, if it's great at one thing, it's commercials. It does some amazing commercials. And
Whether they're good or not for selling their products is one
yeah,
thing, but they're fun to watch for sure.
they're always interesting. And that reminded me of the old Saps commercials they did for the original PlayStation. Um, I don't know if that gained traction in America, but in Britain, it was advertised I forget Society Against PlayStation or something.
Whoa, really? No, I've
SAPS.
never heard of
It
that.
was
Have
a
you heard of
whole
that, Conrad? No.
it was a whole bunch of fake ads telling us how bad the PlayStation was. Because of the way it addles minds and literally turns people into chimpanzees. And it was just so over the top and ridiculous. And there was one commercial where he was trying to get PlayStations replaced as the top holiday item with sticks. It was just incredible stuff. It was like very satirical, very. It was Jack Thompson before, like long before Jack Thompson,
Huh.
but they were doing it obviously to sell the product. That was a very tight like thing of that era was commercials ironically slagging themselves off. But it was very well done, and it reminded me of that, just the inherent silliness of it, and having this guy in a suit just doing, ironically non-guy in suity things.
Hmm.
So I really did like the commercials. I thought the Kevin Butler character was a lot of fun, and it's a shame that, like so many interesting or funny things these days, it has to end in a lawsuit.
Yeah, that's a shame. I had a friend in advertising once, and I pitched him my GameCube commercial. This back in the GameCube days, and he hated it. He was so disrespectful to my GameCube commercial, but I still think it
Well,
was
you just
enjoyable.
accidentally called it a Gamecube. Now,
Oh, did I?
if
Sorry.
the commercial was about a Gamecube,
What's a GameCube? Came?
well,
Oh, you mean like orgasms? Yikes!
I do, Jonathan. Funnily enough, and if it was just a box of jizz, is what I'm getting at. Just a big box, just a hollowed out GameCube, just full of jizz, and you like tilted it, and it just seeped out of the controller ports, and it's like kick it around your room. There's jizz everywhere. GameCube brackets
GameCube.
GameCube more like because of jizz. Then that I'd hire you, and I would give you $100.
That's more than I expected. Yeah, I was giving him my ideas for free. It was just he was not having it.
What
It was
was your
sad.
idea?
Oh, let me see if I can remember. There's a boy in a hot air balloon, and it's like they're playing the song "Up, Up and Away in My Beautiful Balloon." You know that one?
Carry on.
And I can't. I'm fuzzy on the details, but I think he gets pushed out of the hot air balloon and breaks his neck, and it's just like GameCube.
That was it.
That was one of them. There's another
Oh,
one
there were
where he's
more.
yeah, there was a few. You know, because you can't expect just one idea to go over. You
Oh yeah,
pitch a
you've
few
got to hit him with
ideas.
her. Yeah, let's run it all up the flagpole and see who salutes, sir.
Exactly. There was another one where a boy is just like terrified in a room, like an
Mm.
empty room, alone, sitting on a chair, just like looking around, so scared, really suspenseful. And you're like, what's worrying him so much? And you think he's maybe gonna get up to leave, and then he sits back down. And then all of a sudden the floorboards open up, and Satan pops out, and it's fiery, death and scream, death moans,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Buy GameCube!" And the kid's just, he has to buy a GameCube now.
Of course he does.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I think think there was another one about going into an old man's mouth and there being a cornfield in his tooth, and then the Scarecrow was playing the GameCube. He's like, it's pretty good. I think that was the third one.
Said like that, not with a funny Scarecrow voice. It's gotta be. It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, you know, he's not trying to like trick you into thinking he's
No.
a character. He's just your average guy.
He's just a Scarecrow who loves GameCube and GameCube quality products.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I can see why Nintendo didn't go for any of them. Give Sony a call. Because all three of them would be no weirder than whatever they've done in the past. You know,
These all sound like PlayStation 3 ads.
The girl with the mental head, or the guy pushing the cartoon of the thing pushing the pram and the screaming. Are those living commercials, like the fake drama soap opera thing they
Oh
did?
yeah, they're
Yeah.
very Calvin Klein, like
Thumb.
David Lynch weird, huh?
Dick Thumb.
What's Dick Thumb?
Wasn't there somebody did a fantastic, I think it was a parody of PlayStation ads that, you know, had like a naked guy and a thumb replacing where his penis should be.
Whoa, I missed those. That sounds pretty good.
There was that. There was the White is Coming PSP ad. Where
The baby. Wasn't there like a baby launcher? Didn't they launch a baby out of something? Like a baby doll against a wall? Or...
Probably did. Did you remember that one, though? The White is Coming one?
No, what's that?
But that's fantastic. That's
the
a good tag.
incredibly racist one they did.
Just about the whites are coming, and that's good?
It was billboards for the white PSP coming to replace the black PSP.
Oh.
Guess where they went with that? They had a white woman, Caucasian woman, platinum blonde hair, for white clothes, right? Looking
Basically
down
Emma
on...
Frost.
Yeah, basically Emma Frost. Looking down upon and, like, contemptuously holding the face of a black woman. Who was, like, lower and looking up, subservient. Black skin, black hair, black outfit. And it... that was it. White is coming. And it basically looked like it said, white is coming to be better than all of the black people. It was incredible. It was, considered highly racist, and they didn't run it for very long. So, compared to racism, baby launching, funny Scottish girl heads, I really think that Satan going, buy a PlayStation, will really sort of be up there in terms of quality on message.
Are you kidding? It could be the most tasteful ad they've ever produced.
Yeah. It's better than that time they drug out a goat carcass for God of War. They did that once at some party. They had some sacrificial fucking goat carcass, like a real dead.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
Now. That's God of War 3, probably, right? Or no, the PSP ones.
Something like that. No. This was way back. I think. One of the PS2 ones. I think. My memory of it's hazy.
Sure.
But yeah, having Satan scream "Buy a PlayStation" is like more on message than any of their other commercials. You wouldn't be sat there thinking, "What is the product?" Clearly, don't you see it? It's the devil telling us to buy a PlayStation. At least we've got that far that we know what it is. So yeah, I'm up. I will give you $100 for those.
Oh, anytime. Yeah, if anyone at Sony or anyone in the world wants to use those ideas, feel free. I'd be flattered.
Sony does listen because they listen out to see if I'm slagging off the PlayStation Vita this week.
You like the PlayStation Vita. You're playing Retro City Rampage on it.
I love the PlayStation Vita. I've got no complaints about the PlayStation Vita this week.
I love the PlayStation Vita too. I just haven't had cause to buy one yet. That's all. It's a great piece of hardware. It's gorgeous.
I've had a few reasons to turn it on, and I couldn't be happier. I've been playing New Little King's Story, which is a fun little game.
Are you reviewing that, or just for fun?
I bought it to review it.
Okay.
But it's a fun little game. I have been playing Retro City Rampage, which we will have to have a good old talk about in a bit. It's weird. Naturally, as a narcissist, I did the thing, because our faces are all in it.
Oh, yeah.
If for those who don't know, If you've got Retro City Rampage, which is on Steam and the PlayStation Network, if you go to MJ's Plastic Surgery, which is a shop in the city, and go to the what's it called, the voucher.
Enter coupon code.
Enter coupon codes. There'll be a button for that. Press that. Enter the code DTOID, DTOID. That's shorthand for Destructoid. You'll get a whole bunch of faces that you can change your character to, including Conrad, Holmes, Jonathan Holmes, myself, and other Destructoid people. Former host Tara Long and Max Scoville, former people who don't even work at Destructoid anymore. You got Colette Bennett, Holly.
Nick Chester's in there.
Nick Chester, of course, the traitorous dog, and you can play as us. And I, as a narcissist, I've played as myself, and it's freaky because I've made characters, in Saints Row that look vaguely like me, and I was in the Blocks Cometh as well. But to be in a game with dialogue, with a face that is literally me, albeit, a retro-y, 8-bitty type one, it's freaky as fuck.
Yeah, I haven't, fortunately, I haven't gotten that far yet. And I'm pretty sure he didn't cut me from the game, but I think just me as a guy is in the game, playing myself. I give someone a box.
Yeah, I think you're in the Destructoid quest. I actually haven't made it that far in the game
to do fairly that. Far in, I think. Yeah.
But from the very beginning, you can go to MJ's Face or Us, which is to the western end of the map, right about in the middle vertically.
Just a little above the middle. Just a little above the equator is MJ's. And then you can be us in it, which is a nice treat.
Yeah.
As a lot of people want excited to play as you, Jonathan.
Oh, and you too. A lot of people are excited to play as you as well.
Mostly you.
Oh, I don't think so. And you too, Conrad. No. You did that nice video.
I was ecstatic with the first time I'd actually seen the character in the game, because the little sprite guy even looks like me. He's got a little mustache, and
yeah, I know they upped the graphics are
tiny little things in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Initially, the character sprites were too small, 2 years ago, when I first saw some of that stuff. But he's made them bigger, and the game actually, it still retains the kind of lo-fi aesthetic. It's not trying to impress you in any way, but those little added details add a little bit of feeling, which is nice. I like the graphics. I think they look good.
It's good. They are playing it on the Vita. There are some sections, interior sections, where it is very tiny.
Yeah.
To the point where it gets a little bit more difficult than it could be. But for the most part, the graphics work pretty well on the Vita. You kind of have to take the TV mode off, though.
Yeah.
Because there's, for those who haven't played Retro City Rampage, it can take place on a fake TV screen, and you can choose different televisions to watch the game that you're playing on. Or you can turn the mode off completely and just have a full screen game, which you kind of more or less have to do on the Vita.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, I'm sorry, go ahead, Conrad.
What I really love about it is all of the different graphical filters that they have.
Let's talk about that.
Oh, I mean, just about every color palette option from game history is in there. You can play it monochrome green screen. You can play it monochrome orange, I think, even. There's CGA and EGA and VGA graphics options.
Virtual Boy, too, I think, right?
Commodore 64 is in there.
I mean, that shit is... That's what makes Retro City Rampage a special game. Because I can see some people don't get it. I had some people who were like, I'm not enjoying this game at all. And I can see why. But if you pick up on Brian's sense of love for video games, it makes all the more sense. And when you looking through those graphic overlay options is really what does it. When you just see how much CGA fucking graphic filter, that's a guy that just adores video games, and this game is his tribute to everything, just everything in a video game, and I think that's what makes it so special.
I knew when the game was announced that Brian was my people. I knew right away that this is a guy that I'm going to get along really well with. And then he and I were talking about a year and a half ago, I guess. And for whatever reason, I mentioned this old Commodore 64 game called Batman the Caped Crusader. and it's like an adventure game, and it's really not player friendly. It doesn't kind of give you any real sense of how you're going to use these sort of strange objects that you pick up throughout the course of the game. It's just not. Not that fun to play. It's got great music, and it's got some great animation. The graphics are cool, but it's not phenomenal. But I mentioned this game to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remade a version of that for DS."
Of course he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really loves it, like you're saying. He
He is video games. Like, he's the closest to video games a human can be, I think. Just looking at
Yeah.
the shit he knows just 10 minutes with the game, with Retro City, and you can tell the guy just, you cut him and he will bleed cartridges.
And I think what some people are misconstruing about the game is that every reference is supposed to be funny. People, I think, are kind of Family Guy trained to think, oh, he just thinks reference comedy is all you need to do. But it's not so much, for me anyway, when I play the game, the references aren't there to make me laugh out loud. It's to make me feel like I am in Brian's brain where all he thinks about is video games. It's just crowded with video game knowledge, and you barely get any time from seeing one cameo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and suddenly the A-Team is there, and then suddenly Mario's there, and then you've got Sonic's shoes, and you're running around with and it's so rapid fire and constant, and it's not. I don't think necessarily for laughs. So the game is funny as well. It's just.
I love how self-aware it is too. I mean, it's really. There's no doubt that the game knows exactly what it is, and this point was driven home for me when I was in Biffman's house, which is one of the quests. It's a Batman parody thing, and you have to go and examine things in the house. It's sort of like an adventure game to figure out how to get down into the Biff cave, and you can examine the sink, and it says Brian Provinciano literally put the kitchen sink in this game.
Yeah, that's about right. And when he does a joke, like there's jokes he's had planned in that game since 2006 that have already been done since then, like the Mega Man 2 reference towards the beginning. When I first played the game 2 years ago, that was fairly fresh. That hadn't been done by Super Meat Boy or anybody else yet. Now it's been done to death, so he changed the joke saying this is the most overused video game reference of all time, enjoy, or something like that. So, yeah, I like the game. That's my point.
It's a good game.
It
I
is
got some problems with it. I don't want to feel like we're just here advertising it. There's some issues. I don't like how many cops there are. It feels like there's a cop around every corner, which wouldn't be a problem if the game wasn't so chaotic in its controls. Like, neither of those things are a problem in this game, but it can get annoying just like every time you turn a corner, you smack into someone and there's a cop, and made the
very,
cat
very
annoying.
hard to keep a wanted level clear.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of an issue. But on the other side of that, I don't find that the cops themselves pose that much of a threat.
Yeah, they
most
don't
of the
jump
time.
for the most part. You can just jump on their heads Mario style and keep going.
Right.
Yeah,
and there are enough of those like little police bribe things lying around that you're never really too far away from one, I don't think.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't want to imply that it's, the game's too hard. Like, it's not that it actually is pretty tricky in some areas, but like, good difficulty rather than cheap difficulty. The cops aren't really difficult, but it's just a bit irritating,
To just have it's more of a hassle.
Yeah, it's just like, it feels like the game's constantly whining at you when you get that siren stuff going on, but it's not a huge deal. It's not a big problem, and it can be fun to just go on I haven't gone on a Grand Theft Auto style rampage in a long time, but I did with this, and it's fun. Just getting multiplayers for like mowing down a ton of people and then getting the army on your back. Like, it felt really. It reminded me of when me and my brother and friends would just pass around the original top-down Grand Theft Auto demo and just take it in turns to see who could last the longest with a full wanted rating. It's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And I personally think the gameplay isn't to be tossed off as just a top-down Grand Theft Auto. I'm finding more to it anyway. I think adding a useful jump button, jumping as an attack, actually adds a lot of dimension. And he added this cover system to it that wasn't there a couple of builds ago, which like it's almost feels like a parody of Gears of War in a way. Like how silly is a cover system? Look at it in this cute little game. But it still adds some depth to the gameplay as well. So it's not just a simple drive in a car and shoot guys game. There's more going on there.
Yeah,
Gameplay-wise.
I was surprised at how well that cover system worked.
Mm.
Because when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, we've got this 8-bit top-down GTA-esque retro-y funny game, and he's put a cover system in it, and I do not see that working at all. And it's not perfect, but it works decently.
Yeah.
It works. It's still viable to run and gun, but the cover system does add some interesting stuff to it.
Or you can just jump on guys who are shooting at you. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
You can do like a combo of just staying on top of guys' heads, like Mario style. Oh, that sounded kind of gross.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm okay.
There's a lot of weapons as well. All kinds of melee weapons and guns. And... lot to do. Good stuff.
I heard a weird beep. Are you guys hearing beeps?
Yeah, it's coming from Conrad's end. You're right.
Conrad, how are you?
Oh, that's weird. I wonder why.
Oh, you sound good now.
Maybe it's my mute.
Maybe it is.
Oh, interesting. You've been muting from now
Oh,
and again.
I've always muted on this show because I have a tendency to laugh constantly. And
You don't want people to hear your laugh?
It's not that I don't want them to hear me laugh. I don't want my laughing to go over whatever else incredibly entertaining material that I'm laughing at.
But it adds to the party vibe.
Which
People
I
want
find
to
funny
talk about
because when you mute yourself, I'm thinking every time I'm saying stuff, oh my god, Conrad thinks this is dreadful.
it. Yeah, I've been reading your silence as like sad disapproval in the corner, just like they're still talking.
As opposed to Holmes' loud disapproval. Of his, oh my god, I can't believe you're doing this. Oh my god.
That was good. I heard your laugh that time.
There you go.
Interrupted by
There we go.
like a technological whine.
All's well that ends well. There's a lot happened this week. Between lawsuits, between Retro City Rampage, XCOM and Dishonored coming out. People have been excited for those.
They both came out.
Yeah,
Code
my
of
Twitter
Princess.
feed's been full
That's
of people wondering, trying to choose between them. And yes, Code of Princess, which Dale adored.
They all got 9s from us, I think, right?
That's
All 3 of
three
those games.
9s.
Mm-hmm.
Triple 9. Bingo. I don't know what that means. But yeah, 999. That's
That was that guy's plan, Herman Cain.
Mm-hmm.
I miss him. I wish he was president.
Oh, shucky ducky.
He was great. Him in debates with Obama would be literally the greatest
That would be
television
interesting.
of all time. Anyway, I'm sorry. Yes, XCOM versus Dishonored.
Speaking of the
Code of
debates, did you know that
Mm-hmm.
I haven't shut up about this, even though it's not that impressive. I was quoted by CNN on their website and on the television for having one of the top 25 funniest tweets of the presidential debate.
No way.
Yeah, why?
Whoa, what was the tweet, dog?
Well, the funny thing is, it was my least funny tweet of the debate. I just said Obama's winning in the look incredibly condescending while the other guy talks race. And that was rather banal. It wasn't as good as my one where I said, because Romney kept looking down to right when Obama was talking. I said every time he's looking down to right, he is writing more lyrics for his Journey rock opera. No, his Foreigner rock opera, that is it. I forgot what I'd called it. But anyway, there was that. Rock Blooded, that was it. That was the name of his rock opera. I also said every time he did that sad little smile that he kept doing, he was thinking about the sad bit in Land Before Time. So that was good. I also said that the winner of the debate was Mitt Romney's butt plug that was causing him to do that pained little smile all night, and hashtagged it with butt pluglicon. So these were all winners. If you are listening, Jon Stewart, you can have me on to be the new you. Because I am satirical, as noted by CNN.
That's pretty incredible. I
thought it
wonder
was
how they found you in all the tweets. I heard there was like 17,000 tweets about the about Big Bird per minute during the debate,
yeah.
and only more like yours, which you doesn't sound like you resorted to the Big Bird thing.
I
You
didn't
just
mention the Big Bird thing. I thought that was silly. Says the man who talks about butt plugs and anuses. Yeah, that was a lot. I think it was like the most tweeted thing in the history of Twitter. Uh,
mm,
so yeah, it was interesting. This has actually been my first presidential. Don't worry, listeners. We're not going to have political opinions. But this has been my first presidential debate as a resident, and I'm finding it fascinating, horrifying, but fascinating. So it's interesting to actually look at it from this side rather than as the outsider I used to be. So I've been having fun with it.
maybe that's what's making me sad. I'm glad you're having fun, but I am sad. No, that's not what it is. I'm
I,
sad about doping still. But I'm sad about the debates. I'm sad about video games. How do you feel, Conrad? What were you going to say?
I just can't care about these candidates right now. And
Mm.
I've always been more of a, get engaged in your local politics kind of guy. I don't think the stuff that happens on the national stage affects us on a day-to-day basis the way that our state and city governance does.
Hmm.
If you really want to, create a change in your community, do it at the community level. That's where you're going to see progress. But I'm at the point where I just can't. I'm not interested in either of these two guys at all.
What made me sad is that so many people said Romney won the debate. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Why do you think he won? He smiled more. He was, more energetic.
He was more
Like,
engaging. He was more engaging than Obama was in
He
the
was
sure,
more
debate.
sure.
engaging. He was more wrong, but it was
Yes,
the fact
exactly.
that it
Regardless.
was the fact that America
And then his poll
respects a
numbers went up
showman.
because he smiled more.
Yeah.
That just makes me sad. Why don't we care who smiles more in our politics? It's not shouldn't be about that. And then me and Conrad were having a hearty chat on Twitter while I should have been doing things to save people's lives at the hospital. I got caught up in Twitter and chatted with
The
Conrad about
Shaw.
I know
And
about how
50 people died.
about how people will buy a video game just because people are talking about the game. And it doesn't even matter what they're saying about it. I've heard several people say, well, everyone's talking about Resident Evil 6, so I bought that, and I hate it. But I had to find out what it was like because everyone was talking about it. I'm like, yeah, you didn't, though. You could have just waited. Well, no, I got to keep up with the zeitgeist because everyone's talking about things, and I don't want to be out of the conversation. So I spent 12 hours playing a game I hated just so I could say I don't like it too. Now I've got a voice. I'm like, oh, why? If you keep doing that, then people will just make games that will be talked about, regardless if anyone's going to enjoy them or not. We don't want to reward them for making games that are just controversial or.
Well, I think it goes back to, when we were kids, we didn't have a lot of money for games,
Mm-hmm.
and so we rented games to find out whether or not they were good. You can still
That's
do
fine.
that.
Renting Resident Evil 6.
All right. So,
talking
but
about it.
with that option available, with the rental option available, I can't have any sympathy for a jackass who goes and buys a game on the basis that a whole bunch of people are talking about it and they want to know what it's about, and spending that money and then being pissed off about it. I can't justify those two things in my mind. You have options.
I think Holmes's problem is more that the game itself is being rewarded for
Yes,
being
I don't
shit.
want publishers to be rewarded for making a game that people will talk about that isn't fun. That's sad. That's making me
I
sad.
get the tragedy. I guess I'm just resigned to it now.
Mm.
Um, and again, I game on the PC so much, and I'm playing games on there where nothing happens in the game. You just see how many times you can be frightened. So I'm living in a little bit of a golden age where it's like anything can happen on in the indie PC scene. So
Mhm.
it's like I used to be very sad and worried about the big AAA mainstream thing. Now I'm just contemptuous of it.
Mm.
That's not to say I don't like games in AAA stuff.
Oh no,
Right.
when they're
I,
good, of course.
I just gave a 9 to Dishonored, which I adore. But the method, I think it's more. it's a shame that great games have to go through shitty hoops to get where they are.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm just waiting for the bottom to fall out of AAA development altogether so that we can have a glorious age of people doing shit for themselves. It's going to take a
Yeah,
very long time.
I really think that, yeah, I don't have an issue with AAA developers, AAA publishers making and producing games that I don't give a damn about, because there is a wealth, an absolute wealth, endless, more than I could ever play in my lifetime, of cool, interesting games being made all the time.
Yep.
True. So we're fine. I'm not worried that I'm going to run out of video games to play, but knowing the people that are making games that are good and knowing the people who want to play games that are good and seeing all these barriers come up between the people who want good games, the people that make good games, barriers like, oh, well, you know, I'd never heard of that game, but I heard about this game, so I just bought it because everyone's talking about it, and it sucks. I'm like, that's time you could have been spent with a really good game. And they're like, oh, well, you know, no one was talking about it, so I didn't bother playing it. And I'm
You
like,
can't get upset about every individual's poor decision-making skills.
I do. I'm a social worker.
It's a shame
That's my
that
job.
it's life. We live in a world where Here Comes Honey Boo Boo is on the television, and people vote for the politician that can smile more. Let's just
This is why I'm
stop
depressed.
worrying and play Lone Survivor until we die, which will be very soon.
Lone Survivor is pretty
Holmes,
good.
keep your spirits high and your standards low.
Wow. That should be on a t-shirt.
At the end of the day, Jonathan Holmes, life is fleeting, and the best thing we'll do with it is die.
That should not be on a
So
t-shirt.
don't worry. That's a good message. Don't worry, be happy, because you will never accomplish anything. And I hold everyone to that.
I have absolutely no expectations of accomplishing anything, ever.
Wow. But you've done so much. I guess expectation didn't help you get there, though, per se.
We have all done so much, but when you factor in that cosmically, Bill Gates, for all his business building and charitable donation, on the universal level has done fuck all, and is naught but a wisp of pubis on the mound of God.
Wow. A wisp of it. Not even a pubis, a wisp of pubis.
Not just a tiny bit of fluff that got caught in there. When
all of our issues are nothing but a crab.
A pubic crab? Or just a regular old crab?
Right, a pubic crab. Yeah.
Oh, those are itchy.
Pubic crab on the crotch of God.
Not even that. We're a pubic crab on the crab.
You know what? Actually, to be perfectly honest, I think if we were a crab on God's crotch, we'd get a little more attention from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting into religion now. You've had your liberal politics. Now it's time for us to bag on the Christians, but never dare mention Islam because we're scared.
Oh, mercy. No, it's just religion in general. He never mentioned Christianity. Just God. It's the idea. Yeah.
Just God. Just the one God of the thousands.
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
Pick your own. There's loads. What are we going to talk about?
I played Homestuck for a second, thanks to Chef Karyu, that guy who hated me and then liked me, who loves frogs.
Yeah.
Tweets like every 13 seconds.
Following him.
Me too. I'm fascinated. And you know, since he's gotten a few more followers since we mentioned him on Podtoid, and I think the philosophical depth and strangeness of his tweets have both improved. So great job on you. And he got really excited. He overheard me on Twitter. I guess that's how you call it. He eavesdropped on me talking to someone else about how I've never played Homestuck and I don't really understand what it is. He really insisted on me checking it out. And it's pretty neat, as it turns out. Who knew? Did you guys know it was neat this whole time?
I did not know it was neat.
It is a little text adventure type game with graphics done with MS Paint, and it's got sound effects, and it's cute and quirky. It's all right. Yeah, I've only played it for like 15 seconds, so I don't know. There's a lot of philosophical depth and surrealism and blah 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 to it, but just on the surface, yeah, it's good times. This whole MS Paint Adventures thing. I'm sad that I didn't understand how good it was before. Check it out, guys. It's not that bad.
Do it. Check it out, you idiots. For
And
God's sake.
and by text adventure, I don't mean like type, look to the left. It's usually like multiple choice and reading a fair amount of text to go along with it. More like an interactive comic.
Like the old fighting fantasy choose your own adventure books.
Yeah, a bit like those, except digital. Yeah, not bad.
Did you guys ever play the Lone Wolf books?
No, what are those?
These are phenomenal. They were reprinted by Mongoose Press, I think, a few years ago, and it was a series of. They were like choose your own adventure books, but your character carried over from one book to the next, and so it was like playing a pen and paper role playing game, and you had a little character sheet in the front of the book, and just not a whole lot of stats, but a few. And as you went through the book, there would be situations where, check this stat. If it's above this, you can go here. If it's below that, you have to go here. Or you can try to use this ability. And it was really, really well crafted and pretty well written but it was like the next level of choose your own adventure. If you get a chance to check them out, they're pretty good.
Sounds very similar to the fighting fantasy ones.
Mm-hmm.
They're Warlock of Firetop Mountain and Chaos Citadel and all that kind of stuff.
Did your stats carry over in those though?
Yeah.
Stats? Wow.
Yeah, you carried your stats over.
Oh, I mean in the fighting fantasy one. I know.
No, they were all very self-contained books.
Ah.
I think there was like one or two that were actual series. I believe they carried over, but the ones I remember the most were standalone adventures. You had little dice, roll a dice, fight a pig.
Yeah.
Yep. Interesting. Yeah.
That's good stuff. I remember those books. Good time back then. Simpler time.
Indeed.
I played the fighting fantasy game they made for the DS, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. That was a sad time.
Oh yeah.
Tried to do like a first-person RPG, hack and slash. Didn't work at all. It was sad. Looked like shite. But I was really looking forward to it because I used to love those books. But nah, I think there's one coming to iOS now.
That makes sense. Yeah, maybe it'll be better. I forgot about the Duck Amuck game for the DS. I really have to track that down. You know about that?
Duck Amuck?
Yeah, you just rub Daffy Duck and he says things. It's a whole game for the DS.
Is that the one that they based on the cartoon with the artist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ah.
I gotta track that down. That's one of those games I just thought would always be in the store and I could buy later, but they printed like 20,000 of them and that's it. So I gotta
your
find that.
overconfidence has been your undoing.
It usually is when it comes to video games. Jeez, life. Huh? What else are you playing for video games, Jim? You playing those things?
Fighting Force.
Fighting Force for the PS1?
Yeah, that came to the PSN for the PS Vita direct download.
Was that like a 98 game? 90, maybe 2000?
I can't even remember. I'm hearing myself coming through someone else's speakers.
It's probably mine.
It's the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life.
I'm not hearing it at all, so that might be good.
Oh, well, that means it's probably coming from you if you're not hearing it.
Oh, no. What did I do? Is this better?
I don't know. I can hear myself a little bit.
I wonder why that's happening. I'm gonna rub this pad. I'm rubbing it. How do you sound now?
Say that you're rubbing it again.
I'm rubbing it. Is it working? How do you sound?
I don't know. That's better. There we go.
Oh, good. All right, I just gotta keep rubbing it for the rest of the show.
I can hear myself again.
What?
You rub it furiously and hard, boy. But yeah, Fighting Force. Now this is a game that's shit. But it doesn't matter because it makes me so happy to play it. It's an old, for those who don't know, it's an old 3D brawler in the same vein of Streets of Rage. I mean, it basically is a rip-off of Streets of Rage, but it's polygons and 3D because of the future, guys. And I used to play it with my brothers like a ton of times. For some reason, I thought it was on the N64 as well.
I think you're right. Yeah.
I think I may have played it on the N64. But either way, as soon as I saw Fighting Force, because I'd remembered the game on and off for years. Ever since I played it, just on and off, could never remember its name. And then for some reason, I ended up stumbling on a link to a YouTube video that showed off Fighting Force gameplay. and it was it. I saw the fucking familiar scroll through the street, and then the helicopter landing, and then the guy for the punching.
The red-haired guy, right?
There was like a blonde guy, and then a big muscly guy, and then two lady characters. And then it was, and like just you know those memories that just like punch you. They come to you so hard and fast from nowhere. It was one of those moments. Just like my nostalgia just punched me in the face, and then there it was. I saw it again, scrolling down, looking at the latest PS Vita Direct Download releases. And I'm like, holy fuck, that is Fighting Force. I'm buying it now, forever. And I bought it and played it for 10 minutes. But it was the happiest 10 minutes of my life.
I weirdly loved that game because that came out in an era when all the arcade-style games I used to love were dying out, and all the 2D gameplay type games I used to love were Mario wasn't 2D anymore, it was 3D. Zelda wasn't 2D anymore, it was 3D. I was worried the 2D gameplay was going to die forever. I wasn't very long-sighted at that point. So Fighting Force was like a bastion of normalcy for me. It was like, oh yeah, like Double Dragon, this I understand. It's not like the Tomb Raider where you're jumping around and XYZ axis. I don't understand what the hell this is. I was all confused by 3D games. And Fighting Force made me feel normal. Yeah.
I struggled with that for a long time too, and that was one of the motivations for me moving away from consoles and into PC. I've done this a few times. Go to consoles, then do PC, then do consoles, then do PC. And one of the things that made me make that shift at one point was watching consoles sort of develop 3D gaming and how ineffective it wasn't working that well early on, and it just turned me off to the whole thing because I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these
even
are all...
as a kid, you could tell it looked shit.
Yeah.
But people loved it, though. I remember
people
at
are
the time...
dumb. Didn't we just establish that?
I don't know. I thought maybe I was missing something, but I was looking at these ugly polygon-based graphics on the PS1 and the N64 and saying, don't you remember just a few years ago, 16-bit graphics, good animation, details, color... even realistic-looking graphics now and again, and people are like, nope, Polygon's better. That shit sucks. And I was like, oh. I was so bummed. Sir Toby, speaking of that whole generational change, Sir Toby made an interesting point to me that Resident Evil 6 is just like when Mario changed to 3D, or Zelda changed, or Final Fantasy changes, that all these long-standing series... within 6 to 8 games in, they just radically change to try to keep up for the times, and it's always difficult for people, but those changes just have to be accepted, and it's been happening since video games started.
I think that's a good point. I think that's a really good point that he's making. And and while I don't particularly care for the direction that the Resident Evil series has been going in the last couple of games, in terms of its action focused and so forth, it is a logical extension. And I don't think that I don't know, maybe I've said this before on this show, but I think we're too limiting in the description that we apply to horror games. We expect them to all be survival horror, but I mean, just go look at the horror section of your local DVD store and see what they call horror. Look at what they call horror in literature. It's not all about survival. There's gore horror, there's just creeping tension. There's all sorts of different ways you can have a game and have it be horror, and not so. I think we're just too tied up in the concept of survival horror because those are the games that have been the most successful.
The thing is, though, is Resident Evil 6 isn't a horror game. It's not a horror game at all. It's not an action horror. Dead Space is an action horror. There is nothing about any kind of fear in Resident Evil 6. It's not that kind of game, and that's not even to knock it. My problem with Resident Evil 6 goes way beyond it jettisoning horror. But after
but let me ask you this. I know you like the movie Dead Alive.
Yeah.
Is that horror?
I think it is. Comedy horror.
I would err on comedy horror, but it's
I was
still,
scared
to me,
sometimes.
It's still a firm comedy. I always called it a splatter movie, which I always like, had as a different distinction from horror in that a splatter movie can be like bad taste, which
And you
is
see,
just like pure gross out, almost like almost like a gross out comedy, but
and I've always considered that sort of splatter element that you described to be a subgenre of the horror, the larger horror thing, because that's supposed to be stomach turning
Right.
in
Like,
its own little way.
yeah.
have you
and I
seen
can,
Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl?
I'm intrigued.
I've seen the fucking intro for it.
You should watch it
It's
immediately.
grotesque.
Yeah, it's so splatter, but not scary at all. There's not a moment of horror in that.
Yeah,
It's just
but
gross.
I mean, I'm a something of a horror aficionado. I love horror in all its forms, both the good and the shit. But after I played Resident Evil 6, I took the horror tag off of any Resident Evil 6 story I did, because I can't in good faith call it a horror game, and I'm not saying that because it's not survival horror. I'll call Dead Space a horror game.
Sure.
I will call hell, even the I can't even remember the fucking name of it now.
Are they cute? What happens in it?
I can't remember. I think I had a game and then realised I didn't.
Not Silent Hill?
But-
Something else?
But hell, even some of the more action-oriented Silent Hills, they're not survival horror anymore. There's very little survival horror. But, I'd look at Resident Evil 6 the same way I'd look at, in terms of atmosphere, certainly not in terms of quality. In terms of atmosphere, I'd put it maybe on par with BioShock. And that BioShock isn't really a horror game, but it's got some, moments in it that are horrific.
Yeah.
And there are moments in Resident Evil 6 that are horrific, but it's not a horror. It's way closer to, if we're going to stick with movie genres, it's firmly in the sci-fi, and not horror sci-fi. It's just sci-fi. And that's, like I said, that's not my problem with Resident Evil 6. My problem with Resident Evil 6 is it's shite.
Right.
Just to be clear, it's again, it's not, I love horror games and I don't like action games. Look at me, I love action games. I was just talking about liking Fighting fucking Force of all games.
Sure.
As an action game, it's not good. If this was not called Resident Evil 6, if this was called something else, if it was an original IP, it would be firmly on a shelf between Inversion and Quantum Theory. These little shitty third-person shooters that just copy everyone and don't have any unified direction because they're just desperately trying to find an audience. And that's where I see Resident Evil 6. It's not that it's too new for me to appreciate. It's not that it's not horror. It's just shite.
Right. Yeah. I got that from you, for sure. But I do think it's interesting, before long-standing series used to change because of technological leaps, and now they're changing. I mean, instead of going from 2D to 3D with Mario, we're just going towards horror to action in a lot of different games. I think Dead Space 3 looks more action than horror overall, from what I've heard as
definitely. Well. It's Uncharted meets Gears of War in many ways.
Yeah.
And again, if it's still a good game, if it's still a good action game, I'll be happy, more or less, because I like Visceral. I think they do very good work, and I love the Dead Space story, and I like the action in all of the Dead Spaces. I'm sad that it just represents the way games are going. Just this, people have forgotten what it's like to be a market leader. Now they think market leaders follow, which runs counter to the idea of them being a leader. They forget that Call of Duty, its recent games have been doing the same thing. There was once upon a time when Call of Duty was the first thing to do a thing, and that's why it's successful.
Yeah, Modern Warfare 1 was pretty...
Yeah, and if it's not the first, if it wasn't even the first, it was the first one to popularize it. Like, I believe that the perk system in multiplayer wasn't originated in Modern Warfare in Call of Duty 4, but it was the first time it got really big. And ironically, we see this in Resident Evil. It wasn't the first survival horror, it was the first big one. And that's why it led the market for a good long time. It led the horror genre. And now, Resident Evil 6 it couldn't lead a Bumblebee. It it can't, because it's just copying everything. But you look at the most successful games on the market, the actual industry leaders. Halo popularized multiplayer. Like,
On consoles, yeah.
on consoles. It was a console multiplayer. It was the first big one. Mario, fucking platformers.
Hmm.
It brought us the mascot platformer. These are market leaders because they led. And so many companies now forget that. They forget that every major franchise started. It started. It wasn't a sequel to something. It didn't copy someone else and, that was already successful. It fucking started something. It didn't. Oh.
I know.
Too sad to finish that sentence, which also totally disproves what I said earlier about me not being too bothered by it. I'm
Oh,
not.
yeah.
I get frustrated by the psychology of it. I'm
Yeah.
really pissed off at bad idiots. I'm not sad about the industry as a whole, because there's still so much going on. There's again people on PC proving that a lot of what people think about the market is bullshit.
Mm.
We got Legend of Grimrock doing a hardcore old school dungeon crawling single player RPG and doing really well, and Amnesia doing a real horror experience and succeeding. So there's a lot to be really thrilled about. This
Yeah, it's
generation.
it's weird for me. I don't play games on the PC that often, but I can't dispute that the audience on PC really just cares about how good a game is and doesn't seem to get caught up as much in just buying whatever the big series is and just
Yeah.
only sticking to brand loyalty and that sort of thing. They'll branch out and try new things.
And it
And
really is all about the gameplay. That's
mhm.
one of the ironies of PC gaming, is that PC is where you go if you want the highest end graphics, like the best looking games, and then you look at some of the most successful PC games, and they look comparatively like shit.
Well, Minecraft,
Yeah,
yeah.
Minecraft, Amnesia isn't that graphically impressive.
Hmm.
Um, Even Grimrock, Grimrock is a pretty game, but it's not it's not Crisis.
Sure.
Um, some of the best PC, well, I would say all of the best PC gaming experiences I've had haven't been anywhere near the graphical limits of what a PC can, the highest end PC can do, or
Hmm.
even just a regular high end PC, because it is all about the gameplay on this stuff. I mean, there's a reason why GOG is so successful, selling games from the 90s, fucking Tex Murphy and I don't know. I've been playing Last Express this week. Just these old games that look nowhere near as gorgeous as most modern PC games, but people still love them.
Sure. And that Homestuck thing I was talking about, it's
Yeah,
all made in MS Paint. Their Kickstarter raised $2.5 million or something like that. So there's an audience on PC for any kind of game. I think that's pretty
absolutely.
awesome. Yeah. Should we do questions soon? Do you like questions?
We can do. It's
Yeah. Well,
Conrad. Conrad, have you been playing anything you want to talk about?
yeah, Conrad.
I played Forza Horizon yesterday.
What's that?
It's the new Forza racing game.
Oh, I
But
didn't hear you say the Forza part. Okay.
yeah, but it's kind of cool. I mean, they're trying something a little different. It's more about social engagement than shaving seconds off your time.
Hmm.
So like everything that you do generates some sort of value for you, whether you do a drift in a turn and people see that and they're like, oh, that's exciting, you're doing a drift, and it sort of increases your fame meter, and so that's one kind of progress. And then you have your race completion progress and all of that, and it's a big open world. It's Colorado, Utah, a little bit, mostly Colorado. um, and it's all centered around like a music festival with racing, which
Huh.
seems like maybe the two don't fit, but they kind of do. And the only thing about it that I'm not like super keen on is the fact that it is an open world, and that sort of turned me off on Burnout Paradise. because I didn't want to have to drive to everything I wanted to do. I just wanted to be there and do the thing I wanted to do. And this is mitigating some of that with there are fast travel locations that you can unlock later in the game, as I'm led to understand. But even still, I miss the menus. I miss menus. I'm just old-fashioned like that, I guess.
Well, fair enough. Hopefully they'll have a menus option in the next one. I think everyone should just be catered to all the way, all the time. It'd be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm not down with that. Not everybody needs to be catered to.
I didn't think you'd agree. That's okay.
I don't need to be catered to. If you don't, you don't want to make the game the way I would make it, that's fine. I don't have to play it. I'm not upset about that. That's
You're such a nice guy, Conrad.
I'm just not selfish about these sorts of things. There's lots of other people out there who are going to love that shit.
But that's so, most people just look out for number one. But you're saying, hey, don't make a game for me. That's fine.
Well, somebody else is going to make the game for me.
Yeah, that's true. So you're expecting that. Or not expecting. Oh, no, I should just stop talking. I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone.
You can keep talking.
You sure? Why? What are you doing?
I don't know. Do it
I
if you want. I got a film pitch for Willem Dafoe. If we
let's do that.
Time, I won't be too long because it's getting a bit late.
Sure.
But yeah, we haven't had one of these in a while. For those who may be new to the show, every now and then we come up with a film pitch for the Destructoid's patron saint. In many ways, famed actor Willem Dafoe. He's not taken any of the ideas yet, but maybe one day. And I've got this idea. 101 Dalmatians. Now, we all know the familiar Disney story. This one comes with a twist. 2 Dalmatians, played by Danny DeVito and Barbara Streisand.
Whoa, I didn't see that coming.
Just on all fours, crawling around, wearing clothes. Just a white sweater with black spots on it. They're crawling around. They have 101 baby Dalmatians. And they are all little Willem Dafoes. Now, we need CGI for this, because what I want is I don't want just a dog with Willem's face. I want little fleshy, skin-coloured, like human skin-coloured, naked bodies, tiny bodies with oversized Willem Dafoe heads, and like digitigrade legs, like the triple-jointed legs at the back.
Oh, no.
Just crawling around. They look a bit like featherless chickens.
No, don't do that.
Little tiny chunguses just dribbling down.
I hate the little chungus. No.
And they all just go like that.
That's a mixture of pain and laughter.
Brendan Fraser is made up with this. He's the owner. He's loving it. He's just, we've got 101 Dalmatians. It's so good. And he turns to his wife, who obviously is being played by Weird Al Yankovic.
I didn't see that coming either.
And Weird Al Yankovic is like, it's 101 Dalmatians. I couldn't be happier with that, but we'll have to sell them.
Why? Because there's too many?
And Brendan Fraser says, yes, you're right. We will have to sell them because of the economy.
Oh.
And then he looks straight at the camera and says, President Obama has run this country into the ground by the war and Big Bird and selling all the money.
Selling money?
Selling all the money. I'll be honest. We're being funded by the GOP for this one. They're the guys I could get the money from. Because I told them at one point we would say the word God in it. And at that point, Brendan Fraser says, God, I am going to sell these Dalmatians to a rich old woman who will come and buy them.
Cruella de Vil?
And he turns to the camera and says, but I don't know she's going to turn it into a coat, so don't judge me. Judge Obama, who is forcing Victorian English housemaids like my wife to become a prostitute and sell her sweet pussy for sex.
And he's referring to Weird Al Yankovic?
Yes! And Weird Al Yankovic says, "Oh, that Obama! We are just a poor Victorian family, and I have got to go on the game and sell my sweet pussy for sex."
I'm glad Conrad chimed in with the laughter.
Yeah. I was gonna say juicy cunt.
Oof.
But that's offensive, and I don't think Disney's gonna go for it.
Or the GOP, no.
Or the GOP, but I think Disney and the GOP will compromise with sweet pussy.
Yeah, that's fine. That could be interpreted.
It's family
in different
friendly.
ways. Sure.
It's a film about dogs. They might think they are cats.
It's vague. Yeah, it's tastefully vague.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
well, we might actually, for a fun joke, have Weird Al Yankovic selling cats. And it is a cat prostitute. It says, "Hey, who wants to buy a cat? I have got a basket full of sweet pussy to sell." And then a man comes along, I don't know, played by Lemmy Kilminster, and he'll go, "Oh, I don't mind buying some of them pussy, I'll tell you that much. Here, put them in this sack." And she just gets a trowel and just scoops up a quart of cats and puts them in the bag, and he just throws it over his shoulder and then looks at the camera and says, "You know what? I was going to keep these..." I can't do Lemmy's voice.
Oh, that's good.
"I was going to keep these cats here to keep for pets. But thanks to that bloody Obama, I'm going to go home and eat these." And keep those off. So this is the life of Brendan Fraser and Weird Al Yankovic, forcing Barbra Streisand and Danny DeVito to have sex to make Willem Dafoe Dalmatians.
Who they sell to who?
Well, here we go. Here comes the villain of the piece, who is going to make Dalmatians into clothes, but we don't know that yet. Cruellum Dafoe. Cruellum Dafoe.
What?
Cruellum Dafoe.
That's like a triple. That's 102 roles for Willem Dafoe in one movie. Can that be done?
Open the door! Open the door! I'm Cruellum Dafoe. Oh, hello, Cruellum Dafoe. Come on in. I was just selling my sweet pussy to Lemmy Kilminster. He's going to eat them thanks to that Obama. Oh, I know that Obama's a piece of shit. Anyway, let me have a look at the dogs.
Yeah, how could you make a coat out of furless dogs? They're just weird, hairless chicken babies with Willem Dafoe's face, human face.
How are you going to make these dogs into coats, Brendan Fraser asks Cruellum Dafoe. They are just little hairless chicken babies with your face. That's not my face. With an unspecified actor's face.
That was the only part of the question that made sense. That they did technically have his face, and that's the one part he denied. They've got the face right there. You can see him.
It's not my face.
Okay.
Those dogs look a lot like Willem Dafoe, but I am Cruellum Dafoe.
So you can't.
You're not possibly be my face, but I like their raw ass.
What?
I'm gonna shave their asses off and turn them into a Dalmatian ass coat. But you said you wouldn't do that, is what Brendan Fraser asks Cruellum Dafoe. And Cruellum Dafoe says, "Yeah, we'll blame Obama." "Good idea," says Brendan Fraser. "I will blame Obama." Jesus Christ. That's also what he says.
Slow, weird like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Cruellum Dafoe gives them, £100. "Here's 100 English pounds. Go buy yourself more sweet pussy to sell to bands from old metal groups." Jesus Christ. That was a real one. So anyway, over the course of the film, it becomes apparent that, you see, you think that Cruellum Dafoe's specific denial of the faces was me trying to cover my tracks. Oh no,
No.
it's a plot point.
Oh.
Because at one point, Brendan Fraser sits down in a chair and says, "Man, it's weird how those dogs looked like actor Willem Dafoe." And then Barbara Streisand says, "Oh no! It doesn't look like Willem Dafoe. It looks like..." I can't tell if this is offensive or not. Someone
No.
stop me if it is.
I'm sure it's not.
I was trying to do Fran Drescher, then I got scared and did something else. Oh no! It's not. It's not.
You can't even finish it.
No.
It's not.
Wow, the spirits overcome him.
It's not Willem Dafoe. It is Cruellum Dafoe, who, under cover of night, had sex with my ass and made
What?
ass babies, which is the only way a human and a dog can have babies.
Wow. Wow.
I'm the worst.
No. No, it's good.
Obviously, at that point, Weird Al Yankovic says, "Oh my god! We've just sold Cruella Dafoe's own children back to her, and she's gonna shave off their asses to make a Dalmatian ass coat. Let me help us."
Lemmy? He's just a random customer who bought some cats from him earlier. Or her.
And
Whoa. Did you just say Lemmy is just some guy?
Well, in
He is
Weird Al
fucking
Yankovic's life, Lemmy's very important, but to Weird Al is just another cat customer, right?
So anyway, the grandfather clock in the main room opens and Lemmy steps out.
Whoa.
And just says, "So I heard somebody call me name. What do you want?" "We need to ride on your back because you are the fastest runner."
What?
"We gotta go to Cruellum Dafoe's house. Who's? I'm Scottish. Go to her house. Because she's actually a man. And she had sex with Barbara Streisand." Makes sense to me. Up on my back. So Weird Al Yankovic, Brendan Fraser, Danny DeVito.
He's coming too?
"I'm coming too," says Danny DeVito. He jumps on her back, and Barbara Drescher gets on as well. And they just, strap yourselves in. I'm gonna do running fast. So he runs really fast, and they go to Cruellum Dafoe's mansion, which is just a giant marble slab with his face, with Willem Dafoe's face etched into it. And they go through the mouth to go into the house. And to their horror, they realise they're too late. Because Cruellum Dafoe has realised that they are their children. He looks up with blood just dripping from his mouth. Cruellum Dafoe, and he says, "It's all over. I just realised that I had sex with a dog and had ass babies, which I then bought for £100. And it was my last £100 in the world because of Obama and Obamacare. So now I've had to eat all the dogs."
Ugh.
And he picks up, they're all dead, just strewn about. Picks up one of these hairless, fleshy, chicken dog baby Willems and just crunches into its head with just this, "Care to join me for dinner?" And
No.
and Lemmy says, well, under a democratic government, we might as well eat baby hybrid inbred dog monster bastards. And they all sit down and eat. Well, the theme tune plays.
Cruella de Vil theme?
Every time I think about you, I touch myself.
Oh, I didn't think that was
I
Lemmy. That's
don't
the
want
Vinyls, yeah.
anybody else. Oh, when I think about you, I touch myself. Oh, I don't want anybody else. I'm eating the dog.
It's a feel bad tune. In a lot of different ways. Oh, it's a great idea. That it reminded me a lot of Seaman towards the end. That could be Seaman
I
3.
was thinking about semen a lot as well when I was talking about eating a dog.
Nah, no, Seaman. Because
Yeah.
they eat each other, the Seaman.
I
It's
eat
pretty
semen
gross.
as well, yeah.
I'm talking about the video game character.
The
He's got a
what?
human head. He's got
I
a fish body.
know. I
They
know.
have you
I'm
seen them kill each
Speaking
other?
of
It's pretty
obscure
creepy.
games, nobody's playing.
Oh, ouch.
Well,
Seaman.
no, it's fair enough. Tonight I'm gonna get to play Diamond Trust of London.
Oh, good.
I love this game. Jim, have you heard of this? Do you know what this is?
Diamond Trust? No, I don't. I should point out, because she will kill me, it was Alex's idea to call him Cruellum Defoe. Anyway, moving
Oh,
on.
it's a good idea.
I got to give the credit where it's due.
Absolutely.
The blame. Sorry, Diamond Trust of London.
Yeah, it's by Jason Rohrer, the guy who did Passage and indie game guy,
Right.
and it has the distinction of being the only Nintendo DS cartridge that the manufacturing costs were covered by player funding. He did a Kickstarter, and it was a cool Kickstarter in that the game was done. It was, everything was finished. He just needed to manufacture the cartridges. He needed like 90 grand to do it. And he got the money, and he put the game out, and I bought a copy of the game, and it's amazing. It's like it's a board game, basically, that you couldn't play without computer assistance, because you're trying to negotiate with trackers to find diamonds in Angola and smuggle them back to Britain. And you do this by sending out your agents to carry out these transactions, but they're not necessarily going to remain loyal to you. Your opponent can bribe them, at which point they will begin to reveal information about what your next moves are going to be. And everyone gets a turn after decisions are made to change their minds and do different things. So these agents can serve as you can have the agents there and get information as to what your opponent's doing, but your opponent could at the same time know which of his people have been bribed and be feeding you incorrect information, fully planning to do something entirely different.
Clever.
It's a really smart game. It's a little not player friendly at first.
The guy made Passage, to be expected.
Yeah, I mean it's it's a little sprite based kind of board game thing. It plays on DS, and the other cool thing about it is that you get one cartridge, and you can DS download play it to anyone you want, and the download play people can even play with each other. So one cartridge could power an entire room full of people playing this game in one-on-one competition.
Give a man
really
a fish,
cool game.
and he will feed his family. Give a man the Diamond Heisty of London game, and he will play it a lot.
Well, but the other thing too is that it's not really good single player, because the AI eventually you outsmart the AI, and then there's just no real challenge, benefit to playing with it. So that's the other problem, is that I never get to play it because I have to find people who are willing to play this freaking thing with me.
Yeah, you need to have parties for it. I bought it as well, but I haven't even gotten half as into it. I barely got into it at all because there's no one to play with, and I only had one DS at the time. Yeah, can you play on the same DS?
You cannot. You cannot. It has to transmit information back and forth, and
yeah, it's an interesting game. People often forget that he has a whole bundle of games on DSiWare. Passage, Gravitation, and another game called Between are all on DSiWare for just $2.
That's just because hardly anyone knows DSiWare exists.
I know, it's sad. It's the most popular home console. I mean, portable console but its download service, people just are like, nope, all those games probably suck, because a lot of them do, but not all of them do. Some of them are good. I talked. I'm sad about myself.
Questions?
I'll be alright. This guy, Jamie Dunn, we all know him. He says, ask this in Podtoid, please, buddy, because I will be at work during question time.
Oh.
He's so sad and desperate. But he tweeted that, and that only left him room to say, what would you guys do if you woke up as others? That's his question. That's all he's got.
As others.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we talking about the societal concept of the other? Are we talking
be
about other
Nicole
kin?
Kidman. It could be Nicole Kidman's the others. It could be anything. If I woke up as anyone other than myself, though, I would probably be pretty excited.
I'm going to assume he meant as each other. As
Maybe.
Podtoid hosts waking up as each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, if I was Conrad, I'd shave my mustache because I'm very uncomfortable with facial hair. It makes me feel like there's something stuck to my face, like there's tape on me. And if I were Jim, I would just bask in all of the power and glory and love that you get every day on Destructoid. It's wonderful. Not that you don't, Conrad. You do too.
No, I would if I woke up as Jonathan Holmes, I would masturbate furiously. And if I woke up as Jim Sterling, I'd masturbate Jonathan Holmes furiously.
Oh, you guys, you rascals.
I honestly think if I woke up as you, Jonathan, right? Honestly, I would get a floppy hat with a steepled floppy hat, right? Like what a farmer might wear, and go to a pumpkin patch and just trump about in it. Just trump about in a pumpkin patch as Jonathan Holmes, wearing a floppy farmer's hat. I think that would be just a delight. I think it's something you would enjoy. I think it's something I would enjoy. And then, if it's only for a day, then you'll have to deal with getting the pumpkin out your ass.
That makes me, other than the all the anal aspects of the whole thing, that doesn't sound too bad.
There'll be
Maybe
a lot of anal aspects to it. You'll be surprised what you can do with your anus on a pumpkin.
73 questions have come in since I asked.
Oh my
Isn't that
God.
crazy? Just on Twitter.
Hell.
Yeah, I'll just look at them real quick. I'll just do what? You want to do 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to also say, if I woke up as Conrad, I would just breathe on Jordan Devore while he's sleeping.
You're describing my Thursdays.
Oh, someone asked about Forza Horizon. I guess
wow.
it's a little redundant, but why not ask again? That's Folix Ritchie asks, have you ever been disappointed by a sequel that completely changes the feel of a game? Forza Horizon has done this for me. He's disappointed with it already, I guess. Yeah, I've been disappointed with, like we were talking about earlier. I was not a fan of Mario 64 when it came out. I thought it
I'm
changed.
still not.
Yeah, I've grown to be apathetic towards it instead of actively disappointed. Zelda Ocarina of Time, I like the 3DS remake a little bit more because the graphics were less awful to look at. But weirdly enough, I don't mind looking at Majora's Mask at all. It's weird because they're so similar, but Majora's Mask does enough interesting
Majora's
stuff.
ass?
I know. I shouldn't talk today, Barg. Anyway, that's my answer. A lot of the 3D changes to games in the 90s and 2000s made me sad, and now Resident Evil 6 makes me a little sad. Though I'm sure they're going to come out with a real Resident Evil game again sometime. Right? I mean, it took me a long time for 2D Mario to come back, but that came back.
I think they will, and it will be a big build thing. There's something else did it. I can't remember what it was, but it's like they did one game, and then they did one game next that was vastly different, and then they hailed the next one as the big return to the old school, return to form kind of stuff. I can't remember which one it was. I remember thinking at the time, that's a brilliant marketing idea. Just bring out a shitty game that's totally unlike the others, and then so long as the next one is vaguely like the original, they'll lap it up. I have a feeling they're going to do that at some point. They're going to really bring out an old school survival horror Resident Evil style thing, or maybe just remake Resident Evil 2, and people will lap it up and they will bask in semen and poo.
That is so weird you would say that, because just as you were saying it, I was reading a question from Patrick Daggs. His Twitter handle is 6comes after 7, and it was, would you drink a bucket of semen for $1 million or not? Just exactly when you were saying semen, I read the word semen. I don't want to answer that question per se, but just thought I'd point that
There
out.
are many questions, because those things come up all the time, those ideas, those scenarios for $1 million. It would all depend on many factors. Is it from one guy? Is it warm? If not, can I warm it? Because I don't want to drink it cold. Um, how viscous is it? There's many different factors. Like, can I drink it or will I have to eat it? You've got to know. There's a big difference. Really.
I don't know. To me, it's just how big is the bucket, I guess.
There is
But $1
how
million,
big is the bucket?
I would do it. $1 million, I would do it. That's a lot of money.
It would depend on the semen, but I would. I there are a few things I wouldn't do for $1 million.
Yeah, it's a
I'd
lot of money.
probably end up downing it. Yeah.
The amount of worry you would have in the near future would be
Yeah.
greatly diminished at
However,
that point.
if there was an element of skill, like drink it down and keep it down, I might back away because I have a feeling, especially if it's cold, I might end up throwing up
Oh yeah.
at some point. Um, it depends. I don't know how, because a bit of semen from a cock is fine. A bucket of how who knows how old it is come is questionable, and there might be throw up. And if it's a skill thing, if it's like you've got to down it in one and keep it down, I might bow out just because I don't think I've got the human reflexes to keep it in.
It's like a Connect game, kind
Yeah,
of.
I can't even down water in one go without feeling weird. So I don't know if I'd be able to handle that. Just physically, I don't know if I could physically drink that like a bucket of anything for that long and keep it down. Uh,
I'm with you on that.
the reality of how scientifically I'm discussing this has just crept up in my mind.
Yeah, and with real like detailed fascination.
Yeah, so let's just say if I could drink that whole bucket on my terms, I'd take it for the million. If we start having rules of all in one, of keep it down, of this kind of stuff, I'd have to rethink because I don't want to get halfway and fuck it up. I'm not drinking half a bucket of cold semen for nothing.
Yeah, it's not like a physical challenge on a game show. It's just, get paid to do the job, and then what happens after that, vomit or
Yeah, if
whatnot.
it's here's a bucket, I'll see you on Thursday with a check. Then yeah, let's do it.
Conrad, any thoughts on that?
No,
We
I
ended up.
think Jim's really covered all the bases there.
Yeah, I know. No, I didn't think we were gonna run with that question, but we did. Um, the Mr. Fraz, Luke Frazier, asks, with your likenesses in Retro City Rampage, what other games would you like to be in, or actually voice? Jim, I'm sure you've given this some thought.
Oh, I've had this thought many times.
Mm.
I would love to be a Hellgast in Killzone because I think that's something I could legit do. I can go shoot him with a gun.
Oh, come on. You'd be much better in Metal Gear. That would be a waste of your talent. I would want
would
you to
love
be a
to be-
full-on Metal Gear character.
I would love to be a Metal Gear villain. I would. Love
Oh,
to
you
be.
mean like one of the bosses or something?
Yeah, I'd love to. Psycho Man tits.
Conrad, you're not narcissistic in any way. You're one of the most not depreciating, but just realistic about your own assessment of your worth. You probably have never thought to yourself, I should be in a video game. I'm as good as these characters. Have you?
No, I'm really not that interesting day
You
to
are.
day. Yeah, I know. You think so, and you're wrong, and we'll come to terms with that one day. But for right now, it's I would actually really like to do some voice acting at some point. I think that would be a really interesting kind of business to break into and to try doing some of that. But in terms of having me in a game as me, I'm already in that. That was something that I never thought would ever happen, and it has happened, and I'm kind of good.
You're satisfied with that.
I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah. That's good. I'm glad. I'd like to see you in more games, though. I'd like to see you. You would be great in a new Monkey Island game.
Oh, that
Absolutely.
could be fun. That could be
Yeah. You could challenge people with battle of wits and puzzle in a fun way. I could see you being a dashing sword fighter in a no Monkey Island game. Me, one time Edmund McMillan teased me and was like, maybe I'll make you a secret character in Super Meat Boy. And I was like, really? And I got really super weird and wrote him a long email like, if you do that, I'll be so happy and blah 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 blah. And I never mailed it because it was creepy. But yeah, Super Meat Boy has some of my favorite characters in it. It's just an awesome compilation of a lot of my favorite video game characters. So to join them would be fantastic. I can't ask for more after. The same goes for Retro City Rampage. I mean, we're in the same game. Super Meat Boy is in that game, as is Commander Video from the Bittroop series, which I really like. And Mr. and Miss Explosion Man are both in that. We're in
fine company. We
yeah.
really are.
It's really weird. It feels like we're in the Hall of Justice or something, and we were let in. It's very flattering that Brian did that. So, yeah, I guess that's my answer to that question. You want to do more questions, or are we questioned out? What do you guys think?
Really shouldn't. Let's do one more.
Okay. Der Aang from Avatar, pedophilia? Asks Coffee or Die. I don't know what that means. The Aang is the bald man? The bald boy?
What?
I don't know. I just stumbled upon it quickly. It's a character from Avatar, not the blue cat people Avatar, but the Avatar that's
the old cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Airbender.
The Airbender.
I just want to have sex with a young boy, then it is pedophilia. Yes.
I'm gonna guess. I don't know anything about Airbender. Is he like secretly 500 years old or something stupid?
No, I think he's a reincarnated soul.
Right. So that's what he's driving at.
No, but if you've got a little boy body and you get touched, then you got pedophilia, guys.
Yeah, I feel sorry for a little boy. I don't know where that was going.
Me too.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Is that not a good enough question to end on?
Oh God.
They're really weird this time. Leo Da Vinci asks, if you were a bee, what bee would you be? I mean, how am I supposed to? I don't know. Bumblebee. They're fat and fun. Yeah. Fat and fun. Sign me up.
I would like to be Africanized because I could really use some rhythm.
B. Armitage, the transgendered porn star.
Whoa, I don't know who that is. Neat.
Yeah.
These are good answers to great questions. Good job, guys. Let's do what we're doing this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Conrad and I are doing Sup Holmes this Sunday.
I'm not doing Sup Holmes.
Oh, you're right. You're gone
right.
away. Jordan's going to take over for you. I hope.
Yeah. So everyone be really, really nice to whoever it is. Well, it'll be Jordan DeVore. That'll probably have my username in the chat for Sup Holmes. And just be really nice because he has no clue what he's doing. I left him a list of very specific steps that have to be followed to make sure that this thing goes off with only minor hitches. And we'll see if that works out. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Can't believe how hard you work for Sup Holmes every week. Thanks, Conrad. So we'll have Brian Provinciano on. He's our first return guest. We first had him on.
31.
Yeah, it's almost 52.
Jesus,
we're over
31.
Yeah, it's like a real show
God,
now.
It's really. When did you first start doing that? It seems
February,
to have
I think?
flown.
Yeah, I want to say February.
Yeah, I think
Man.
so. The guy who does the music for Minecraft, I've never talked to him before. I've heard of him. I've heard his music. He's good. He just randomly tweeted, "Wow, Tron Knott's show is really good. He brings out the best in people," or something.
I saw
like
that, yeah, because he
I was
started following
floored.
me, and it was
It's
a good.
completely floored.
That's nice. He does good music. You should get him on. I think he probably wanted an invite.
I then immediately was like, "Oh my God, you did something great, and I'm just some guy. Why don't you be on my show?" And I haven't heard back from him, so who knows? He might.
Womp womp.
Yeah, he was busy playing Dishonored after that or something. But anyway, yeah, Brian will be on to do. We want to help him promote his show, but I'm really interested to talk to him about how he feels now that he's completed this game. Now he's getting fan feedback from it. Fans will actually be able to call into the show or chat in the show and ask him questions now that they've played the game. Critics can come in and talk to him about the things that they didn't like about the game. It's a rare experience to talk to a developer who's working on a game for commercially at least 4 years, but he started the project like 10 years ago, who's just completed this huge part of his life, kind of an extension of himself. He's going to be there ready to talk about
I
that.
can't imagine what that feels like to work on something for that long and then it's done. Like, do you feel accomplished? Do you feel empty? Do you feel, I might, because I'm usually not around on a Sunday. I might have to upset people and come and watch.
That would be great. Yeah, ask him some questions. He'd be happy to talk to you about it. So that's this Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the podcast version on iTunes of last week's episode with Alexander Bruce, which I was really surprised about how self-revealing Alexander got and multifaceted and interesting. And his game, which I just took for like a beautiful, interesting puzzle game. It's called Antichamber. It's a first-person sort of exploration puzzle game. I didn't realize how deep that game was an extension of that guy's just attitude towards life and his ideas about people and the way the human mind works. It was really, he went on a couple of amazing tangents that blew my mind. I don't know. I thought so. What do you think, Conrad?
Oh yeah, no, it was a good show. It's definitely worth checking out, and it's also available now on our new Dtoid TV YouTube channel,
Oh, that's right.
youtube.com/DtoidTV, where not quite all of the episodes of Sub Holmes are in there yet. I didn't quite finish before I left town, but I'll get the rest of those in and organized here probably by the end of this week. And yeah, so you can watch all 30 episodes of Sub Holmes that have aired, or will be able to soon on youtube.com/TV. Dtoid
Yeah, a
TV.
lot of them. The Jonathan Blow Up episode was up. The Sean McGrath from Dyad.
I think I have all but the first 10 in there at this point.
Yeah, so quite a few. So if you just want some background, just press play on that stuff, and you can listen to people talk about video games. Some of them are pretty smart. It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Let's do it!
What are you doing this week, Jim?
What am I doing this week? Well, on Destructoid right now, there's all sorts of stuff. We've got the redesign. I thought we'd actually talk about that more than we did, but we got a redesign, guys. On Destructoid.com, fully relaunched, all sorts of exciting, cool stuff to look at. New comment system, you can edit them now. Really cool.
A little bit of a pardon our mess kind of situation. If you see a bug, please let us know.
Yeah, I believe that Andy Dixon will have on the front page an actual post coming up soon where you can report bugs directly. We're going through them. Things are being fixed right now. Nero has not slept, nor have any of the other excellent engineers who have made this happen. It's a beautiful redesign. I am normally very sketchy of... anyone could tell you, almost any big idea that's had with Destructoid, I've always expressed some kind of fear. None this time. Which might be terrible. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad sign. I don't know. But I've never been more confident in a change that Destructoid's made than this. So I'm loving it. Really enjoying it. I've put off a lot of other plans just to play around with it today. But yeah, I got stuff on it. Dishonored review is up. What else have we got? The Fable The Journey review is up. It's all in the top story box. I also did a new Blatantly Better, which went up today. That's DMC's new Dante is blatantly better than old Dante, which is a nice bit of satire / trolling, depending how clever / stupid you are. That's that. Also, over at escapistmagazine.com, my new Jimquisition is up. It's called Resident Evil 6 is the epitome of survival horror, which is a bit of an ironic name. Aren't I fucking smart? That's about it. Unless there's anything else that people need to add, we can wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Shut up, Jonathan.
No, just real quick.
Oh my god, he's just going to say it anyway.
Oh, it's so good. Oh,
What?
you know what's so good? Code of Princess? You
Mm.
know that. The first sword you get is called the Saturn. It's so
Oh.
great. It's so great because Guardian Heroes is on the Saturn, guys.
Uh-huh.
I'm so happy about that. That's what I've been playing this week. Just like, oh yeah, it's got the
Yeah.
Saturn. Yeah, yeah.
Not really worth interrupting me for.
Couldn't help it. I was excited. I'm sorry.
It's
Excited.
all right. I will do anything to keep you excited. Erect is what I was getting at there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening this far. That was your reward, that stormbuster of a last joke. As always, you can review us, subscribe to us on iTunes, RSS, whatever, or just listen to the show directly on destructoid.com. People ask if you want to ask questions. The best way to do it is to just follow us on Twitter. Jonathan Holmes curates them. You can follow him at @TronKnots, TRONKNOTTS. Conrad Zimmerman at Conrad Zimmerman, all these names squashed up, no spaces, and at Jim Sterling, that's me, again, just all one word. That's it, really. We'll see you next week. Bye.
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 Uh...